The old house stood on Elm Street, shrouded in shadows even on the sunniest days. It was a place of whispers, a silent sentinel to secrets long forgotten. Folks in town knew little about the man who lived there. He kept to himself, a solitary figure rarely seen outside the confines of his overgrown yard. He had arrived years ago, a stranger with haunted eyes and a past he never spoke of. Some whispered he was running from something, a shadow he couldn't outrun. Others claimed he possessed an uncanny air, a disquiet that clung to him like a shroud. Truth was, nobody really knew. But the man with his solitary ways and unsettling aura was about to become the center of a mystery that would grip the town and leave an indelible mark on all who dared to unravel its threads. A mystery that began on a night like any other, yet ended with the impossible. The night was unusually still. Not a breath of wind stirred the trees, their branches hanging heavy and still against the backdrop of a starless sky. A thick blanket of silence had settled over Elm Street, broken only by the distant chirping of crickets. Inside the old house, the man went about his nightly routine. He ate his dinner in silence, a solitary figure at the head of a table meant for six. He washed his dishes, the methodical clinking of china the only sound in the oppressive stillness. He retired to his study, the room dimly lit by a single flickering lamp. He opened a book, his eyes scanning the pages, but his mind was elsewhere. He couldn't shake the feeling, a creeping unease that had been growing stronger with each passing hour. Outside, the wind picked up, rustling the leaves in the trees. The man looked up from his book, a flicker of unease in his eyes. The wind seemed to whisper his name, a low, mournful sound that sent chills down his spine. He went to the window, peering out into the darkness. The trees swayed ominously in the wind, their branches casting long, dancing shadows on the ground. He could have sworn he saw a figure standing at the edge of the woods, shrouded in darkness, but when he blinked, it was gone. His heart pounded in his chest, a cold sweat prickling his skin. He told himself it was just the wind, playing tricks on his mind. But deep down, a primal fear gnawed at his insides. Something was wrong, he could feel it. Down south, in a bustling city bathed in the warm glow of neon lights, a lone police officer patrolled a deserted street. It was the graveyard shift, the time when the city slept and shadows held sway. The officer, a seasoned veteran with a weary face, had seen his share of strange occurrences over the years. He had seen the underbelly of the city, the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. He had seen things that would make even the most hardened skeptic question their sanity, but nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to encounter. As he rounded a corner, his headlights illuminated a figure lying sprawled on the sidewalk. The figure was unmoving, its limbs twisted at unnatural angles. The officer slammed on the brakes, his heart pounding in his chest. This was no ordinary night. Section 5. A familiar face. As the officer approached cautiously, his flashlight beam danced across the figure's face, revealing a sight that made him gasp. It was the man from Elm Street. But how? He was supposed to be 500 miles away. The man was unconscious, his breathing shallow and erratic. His clothes were torn and covered in dirt, as if he had been dragged through miles of wilderness. But what disturbed the officer the most were his eyes. They were wide open, staring blankly up at the night sky, and etched in them was a look of sheer primal terror, a look that spoke of something truly unspeakable. The officer had seen fear before, but this was different. This was the fear of a man who had looked into the abyss and seen something that defied all reason and logic. Section 6. The interrogation. When the man regained consciousness in the sterile white room of the hospital, he was met with a barrage of questions from the skeptical detectives. They peppered him with inquiries about his identity, his presence in the city, his inexplicable journey. But his answers were like fragments of a shattered mirror, reflecting only confusion and fear. He couldn't explain how he had traveled 500 miles overnight. He had no memory of the journey, no recollection of the events leading up to his discovery. All he remembered was the suffocating silence of his study, the whispering wind, and then, nothing. The detectives exchanged skeptical glances. They had heard it all before, the flimsy alibis, the convenient memory lapses. But there was something about the man's demeanor, a raw terror that lurked beneath his confusion that gave them pause. Could he be telling the truth? Section 7. A Life Unknown. As days turned into weeks, the investigation into the man's past yielded no answers. He was an enigma, a blank slate with no discernible history. His fingerprints were not on file, his name yielded no matches in any database. It was as if he had materialized out of thin air. The townsfolk on Elm Street, when questioned, could shed little light on their reclusive neighbor. He had lived among them for years, yet he remained a stranger, a ghost haunting the fringes of their lives. His past, like his present, was shrouded in mystery. The only clue to his identity was a faded photograph found tucked away in his wallet. It depicted a much younger version of the man, his arms slung around the shoulders of a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. But who were they? And what had happened to them? Section 8. The unsettling evidence. The mystery deepened when the police examined the man's house on Elm Street. The house itself was unremarkable, filled with dusty furniture and the remnants of a solitary life. But in the study, they found something strange. On the floor, where the man had been sitting, was a circular imprint, perfectly formed, as if something had been burned into the wood. The imprint emitted a faint, almost imperceptible hum, a low vibration that seemed to resonate deep within their bones. The detectives had never seen anything like it. It defied explanation, a tangible piece of the impossible. Was this the key to the man's inexplicable journey? Was it a portal to another dimension? Or was there a more rational, albeit equally unsettling, explanation? Section 9. A glimmer in the darkness. Just when the case seemed destined to remain unsolved, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected source. A renowned physicist, Dr. Amelia Grant, had been following the story of the teleporting man with keen interest. Dr. Grant, known for her unorthodox theories and groundbreaking research in quantum mechanics, believed she had an explanation. She posited that the man had somehow stumbled upon a fold in the fabric of space-time, a wormhole that allowed him to traverse vast distances instantaneously. Such phenomena, while purely theoretical, were not entirely outside the realm of possibility, according to Dr. Grant. Her theory, while met with skepticism from some quarters, offered a tantalizing glimpse into the unknown. Could the man's experience be the first documented case of human teleportation? Could it be the key to unlocking the secrets of the universe? Section 10. The second vanishing. Before Dr. Grant could delve further into her research, the impossible happened again. The man vanished from his hospital bed, leaving no trace, no explanation. The security cameras captured nothing. There were no witnesses, no signs of a struggle. It was as if he had simply ceased to exist. The detectives were baffled. They had exhausted every lead, every possible explanation. Had the man discovered a way to control his newfound ability? Had he willingly stepped back into the unknown? Or had something more sinister transpired? The mystery of the teleporting man remained unsolved, a chilling reminder that there are forces at work in the universe that defy our understanding, forces that can bend the laws of nature and challenge the very fabric of our reality. Section 11. An unending mystery. The tale of the teleporting man became a local legend, whispered in hushed tones around campfires and late-night diners. Some dismissed it as an elaborate hoax, a figment of overactive imaginations. Others clung to the belief that something extraordinary had occurred, something that hinted at the infinite possibilities and terrifying unknowns that lay beyond our perception. But for those who had encountered the man, who had looked into his haunted eyes and felt the chilling touch of the unknown, the experience left an indelible mark. They were forever changed, haunted by the knowledge that reality is but a thin veil, easily pierced by forces we cannot comprehend. And so the mystery of the teleporting man lived on, an enigma etched into the annals of the unexplained, a testament to the enduring power of the unknown, to both fascinate and terrify. It served as a stark reminder that some questions have no answers, and that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved, forever shrouded in shadow and speculation.